May, may mga manunood din na, hi, good evening. Welcome to my music podcast, My Infinite Playlist. I'm Rick Olivares. For tonight's episode, I'm going to be talking. This is part two of my New Wave LP collection. I did one a couple of days ago. That was half my New Wave collection. And just a little note, what you're not seeing here are records by The Jam, the Style Council, and there are probably a few others because I put them in other collections of mine. So these are really essentially stuff that I had in my grade 6, 7 high school and college days. Okay, so we'll get started with part two. I want to thank you for watching. We'll start off with one of my favorite bands from the New Wave era, Modern English. 12-inch single of I Melt With You. I first saw them in the film, or heard the music of I Melt With You in the film Valley Girl starring Nicolas Cage. And I liked it so much, I hunted it down. And my best friend at the time, Nikki, had a copy of it, but I had to wait until I could order my own copy. I don't have that right now. I lost it 3 years, but I do have this 12-inch single. I love this band, you know. So um, let me put this over here. Here is second album, Ricochet Days, from Modern English. Um, I'm happy that they're not like a one-hit wonder after I Melt With You and After the Snow. This is a great album. It had Rainbows and Spinning Me Around. Hands Across the Sea was the hit here. There's a lot to like. But as good as Ricochet Days was, I'm going to tell you which one's my favorite. It's Stop Start, this record right here. Yep, this is the original US pressing. I really like this record. You know, it's got Breaking Away, you know, Ink and Paper. There's just really a lot here that I really like. And, uh, you know, Modern English is just one of those bands that, guitar bands with a lot of melody, with a lot of harmony. And, you know, Robbie Gray sang with a lot of emotion. And I just really love this band. Here's another record that I want to show the Motels. I'm really not into this band. I just got them because of the song "Remember the Night." They also had another hit on this album, "Suddenly Last Summer." They're okay. They're fine, but two good songs. I needed to get that record. As I talked about in episode one of my New Wave LP collection, now it's time to show some of my new order records. Uh, this is not a complete set because some of them are newer copies. These are the original ones that I had back then. Love this record. I was in high school when this hit, and just a lot of good stuff over here in Love Life, this album, Love Vigilantes, Perfect Kiss, you know, uh, Subculture. Such a very good record. I thought that this is the first album of New Order that I had, and I liked it off the bat. And it got me to really go back into deep. And which brings me to this 12-inch single, and it's got, uh, you know, this is Fine Time, but I really got this for Don't Do It. I think Don't Do It is one of those songs that's underrated in the repertoire of New Order. Um, First pressing of Substance, 1987, their first greatest hits. And it should be noted that the British and the American copies are different. Like there's a different track listing, there's some different songs, just a few. But I have both on CD, the American and the British pressing. I remember when I first got my British CD, it was pressed on Nimbus recordings. And like Japanese records, Nimbus recordings, they make use of virgin material, so it's not recycled. Hence, it sounds really great. Unfortunately, I played that CD to death, and it got to the point where it was all scratched and messed up. and Ondoy did not really help with that one, so I had to get myself a new copy. And to complement my um, LP, this is like their comeback album after a hiatus, waiting for the Siren's Call. And what a cover, right? Looks like something out of the periodic table of elements. And New Order definitely belongs right there. So the songs that I like here, um, Hey Now, What Are You Doing? I like that. Waiting for the Siren's Call. Crafty, I like Crafty. Jetstream. There. So those are the songs that I like in this one. As you all know, after they came out with that album, they've been back. Although Peter Hook's not with them anymore. Pet Shop Boys, their debut. And actually, if you look closely, it's got the price that when they first got it at Tower Records. See that price there? It's a great debut album. Solid album from the Pet Shop Boys. Just really one of the best records, best debuts of all time. Mhm. Speaking of debuts, here it is: The Police, Outlandos de Amor. White Man's Reggae here, and I thought that they were really good. I love the Police because they infused their music with a lot of Jamaican stuff there. It's so evident here. Later on, they with Ghost in the Machine, they went a little bit more synthesizer oriented. By the time they hit Synchronicity, it was different. It was more. I think Sting was teasing towards the direction that he would take when he embarked on his solo career after Synchronicity. But this is such a great record to listen to, and you can see the ringwear right there. You know, I wish I could change the protective plastics all the time, but it's just so expensive. Okay, 10-inch die cut single of the Do 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 Da Da Da, backed with Don't Stand So Close to Me. It's a double A sides 10-inch single. I remember when this came out, it looked like such a novelty. It was so hard to play. You weren't sure where you'd put down your stylus, but I'm happy I still have this record after all these years. This is my favorite album of the Police. No, it's not Synchronicity, it's this one, Zenyatta Mondata. This is their last in terms of that reggae sound that they had, but this is more world music because there was a lot of Middle Eastern stuff here. And this is just a great record. Don't stand so close to me. When the world is running down, you make the best of it still around. Canary in a Coal Mine. Voices in My Head. That's an underrated song. I absolutely love Voices in My Head. Of course, there's the Do Do Do, the Da Da Da. Man in a Suitcase, Shadows in the Rain, The Other Way of Stopping. They ended with an instrumental. I love this record. Ghost in the Machine. Really had a lot of synthesizers. It's just really different. Spirits in the Material World, the first single off that album. Or was it Every Little Thing She Does? Whichever one was the first single. But you could feel the heavy synthesizers. It was like listening to 1984 Van Halen with a lot of synths. As I told you, for those who listened to my earlier podcast, after a while when I got to college, I just didn't really like synthesizers and stuff. So I'm glad with Synchronicity they ditched that. I like this album a lot. It's such a mature album for this band. Definitely one of the greatest records of all time. Synchronicity. But still, my favorite is Zenyatta Mondata. Now, this here is one of my all-time favorite bands, Prefab Sprout. My introduction to them was actually Two Wheels Good, their album. I got it as a freshman. But this is a single from their debut album, Swoon. You know, so it's got the song Donna Summer. So that's one reason why I had to get this as well. Swoon, that's a 12-inch. Now this is that record that I got during my freshman year in college. Two Wheels Good. The British version was titled Steve McQueen, but they had to change it for the American release because the estate of the actor was not happy about that title. Such a cool cover that had me. They got me from the cover, but of course, I knew Appetite hit the American Top 40 at the time. I still play this record a lot. In fact, I think that this is one of the best breakup albums of all time. It's got a lot of really good stuff in here. And hold on a second. Let me check over here. Okay. Okay, hold on a second. From Langley Park to Memphis. I have all their stuff on CD. On vinyl, no, because it was hard to get Prefab Sprout, at least for me back then. But this one, I remember because Cars and Girls was being played a lot on 99.5 RT. I was saying like, oh, after Appetite, Bonnie, and all those songs, they came up with such a great song that was actually an answer by Paddy McAllen towards Bruce Springsteen. So there's a lot of good stuff here. The King of Rock and Roll, Cars and Girls. I remember that. Nightingales, Hey Manhattan, The Golden Calf. These appeared in their greatest hits album later on. 12-inch single of The King of Rock and Roll. It's got Moving River, Dandy on the New, in Can Pot. Nice thing to have. I have other records, but they're newer pressings, so you're not going to see with this particular batch. A band that I really liked during my first year, no, 7th grade. I was in 7th grade. My best friend, two of my best friends, Nikki Ramos and Hector Gardo. Both of them brought this back during that summer, and this was such a great record to spin back then. And Precious, Phone Call, Tattooed Love Boys, Space Invader. Love the song Space Invader. Stop Your Sobbing, Kid, Brass in Pocket, of course. Brass in Pocket made it to the American Top 40. So that's how we knew of the Pretenders. And such a great debut. I really love this. It's produced by Chris Thomas. And they just got better and better. Here's their extended play single featuring tracks that would appear on Pretenders 2, which is their second album. Message of Love, Talk of the Town, Cuban Slide, and Precious, live version of Precious. I remember getting this in Hong Kong. Okay, so extended play. And this preceded this particular record, Pretenders 2. And this is another very good record. No sophomore slump for the Pretenders. They just went on trucking. I thought The Adulteress was such a canny way of opening the album. Then Bad Boys Get Spanked. They were getting kinky right here. Okay, Message of Love, Talk of the Town. Those are the two singles here. That, Waste Not, Want Not, Pack It Up. Very good band. And as I said, they kept on making good stuff. Learning to Crawl. This has got some pretty good stuff. Middle of the Road, Back on the Chain Gang. Thin Line Between Love and Hate, 2,000 Miles. So this was them picking up the pieces of Death in the Family. Learning to Crawl was just finding the band on their way back. Okay. So I got two of these records. One's the American, one's the British press. So happy to have both. German band Propaganda. I remember when Duel came out, I was just like, whoa, this is really good. And that was such a racy cover for me back then, especially for this time. I remember when I got this at Odyssey in Green Hills for $120, if I'm not mistaken. Boy, I had to save money for this one. And then I had to hide it because I was worried about this cover showing some skin. I was worried my parents would see it. So I hid this. So, I had trouble playing this record. Pursuit of Happiness. They were coming off that hit "She's So Young," and unfortunately, no one heard of them after that. So they're one of those one-hit wonders from the new wave '80s. Now, this band was definitely not a one-hit wonder. They would fall under the category of one of my favorite bands back then, the Railway Children. And I discovered this band when Another Town was put together in this compilation that was released by Octoarts. I still remember the cover, but I don't remember the title of the record. And you couldn't find this here. Um, the Rastro, that shop, that curio shop in Green Hills that I love to go to, they had a bootleg version of it, and I had to settle for a bootleg CD. Can you imagine that? I paid 400 bucks. That was a lot of money back then. That's just a lot of money. It's a bootleg. And I only got Reunion Wilderness much later. And, they're just one of my favorite bands. Gary Newby's got an incredible voice. Recurrence that featured more really good tracks from the band. Yeah. One of those, well, they're not exactly a one hit wonder, but they're more known for the song China. There's a 12-inch single from San Francisco band, the Red Rockers. Pardon the ringwear of that record. Now, I told you how REM really just rocked my world back during my freshman year in college, along with the Smiths and Hatful of Hollow. I have it, but my copy of Murmur and Chronic Town, uh, I don't have them anymore. I do have them on CD and I have the newer pressings. But again, in this particular video, these are the original pressings. And again, do you see Groot in the background? Groot's over there. Here. I love this album. It's a very good album, Reckoning. And, you know, look at that. Not much to say. They just, in fact, there really isn't much to understand with their music. You just have to nod and just shimmy around the music. It's got some good songs like Pretty Persuasion. So Central Rain, I love So Central Rain. And Harbor Coat, that was the big hit here, Harbor Coat. Fables of the Reconstruction, REM, another solid record. They, IRS Records was the America's answer to 480, to Britain's 480. Just look at that style of packaging. It comes from the same kind of thought that's really weird and you just don't understand it. And as you said, even for Reckoning, and if you recall the covers for Murmur and Chronic Town, and Chronic Town showed a gargoyle. Murmur was just some hay or grass. This is where it changed out of time. And I sort of lost interest in REM after Fables of the Reconstruction, but this brought me back because of Shiny Happy People. This had, I'm not sure if it's Kate Schneider or Cindy Wilson of the B-52s who appeared in Shiny Happy People. So I got that largely because of that. But you know what? There are really good songs here. Radio Song opened the album. I love Radio Song. Losing My Religion was the big hit here, but not really a fan of it. I prefer songs like Low. Then, of course, Shiny Happy People, Belong, I love Belong. Texarkana, that's such a great rocker. Okay. This isn't my original record of Seconds of Pleasure of Rockpile. My original was the British copy that had a pocket right here for a 7-inch single that featured songs from the Everly Brothers. And Cesc Rodriguez and Les the Croc of A to Z Records bought it for me. They kind of forced me to sell it to them. And I did, much to my regret, because I've not been able to get that copy back with the 7-inch single. So this one I only got in the last couple of years, and Rockpile, this is their only album. But this has got Nick Lowe. You know, it's a really good band. Really good band. Billy Bremner, Dave Edmunds. Rockabilly band if ever. Teacher, teacher, heart. Play that fast thing one more time. So if you like the Everly Brothers doing rockabilly, then Rockpile's for you. Speaking of one-hit wonders, this is this band. Okay, 12-inch single of Roman Holiday. I got it because of Don't Try to Stop It. Love that song. I think along with bands like Haircut 100, they were High Z Fantasy. They were just so different. It was like a cabaret act doing new wave and all that. Now, the Romantics, uh, look at them wearing the red suit right there. You know, good record. I don't have a lot of their stuff, but this one I do. I got it because it's got What I Like About You. There's such a great arena rock song. I mean, they have good songs, but I got it really because of What I Like About You. My first copy of the Romantics is a 12-inch single from, if I'm not mistaken, it was Warner Electra, something like that. You know. But this band, I saw them on MTV Scandal, and it was Goodbye to You, and I was just smitten with Patty Smythe. Like, wow, what a beautiful lady there. So I had to get this EP, and that same EP that I had all those years ago. They hit it big with The Warrior, but I'm not sure if they had another hit after that because I don't even have a copy of that record. For me, this is it, their EP, their debut EP. Sig Zig Sputnik, Flaunt It. Uh, yeah, one of those new romantic bands, danceable ones. I think they inspired bands like Prodigy later on, Sig Zig Sputnik. Look at the Japanese motif on the album. This is the box, special edition box album. So I'm happy to have this one. Now, the next band that you're gonna see gave me the creeps back then. Because remember, I was just this kid, and opening myself up to punk was being rebellious, but opening myself up to Susie and the Banshees really frightened the Catholic boy in me. Okay, the macabre eyeliner, the dark shadows, all that stuff, they scared the shit out of me. But I loved it. I loved it. It was subversive for me to listen to this. Um, this is, I'm going to go by the albums that I have in chronological order, but just for the sake that son, I'm telling you, this is the first ever Susie and the Banshees record that I ever had. A Kiss in the Dream House. And more on this later, so I'm going to start off with some of their earlier stuff. The Scream. Okay. Very good record. Kaleidoscope. I mean, I had this crush on Susie Sue. She's so pretty, especially with all that black makeup and eyeliner. Okay, Once Upon a Time, the singles, and for a lot of people back in the 80s, this was the record that they were able to get that really introduced them to Susie and the Banshees because it's got Hong Kong Garden, Happy House, Christine, Spellbound, so it's a good one to have. Now, let's talk about A Kiss in the Dream House. I got this in Hong Kong back then. And this was not only goth, there's a little psychedelia in there. And when I played this record at home, my parents weren't home, so I put it on loud and Cascade started and there was this acoustic strumming and all that. And it was the instrumentation was sparse and spooky. you know, but such a great album. Uh, Side 2 was my favorite with Melt, Painted Bird, and the song Slow Dive that closed out the album. That's actually where the band Slow Dive got their name. This is a very, very good record. It's still my favorite CZ and the Banshees album. Hyena was next with Robert Smith of The Cure. That's all right. But, I'm someone who's trying to complete my Susie and the Banshees collection. Um, this was one of their big hits back then, Cities and Dust. And I know that Cities and Dust was actually came out in a film back then. I forget the title of the title of the film. I do remember it, but it was just great. It's got songs like Candyman, The Sweetest Chill, Cities and Dust. Very good record. Through the Looking Glass, you see the Banshees. Deep Show. There. So those are my CC and the Banshees records. The next band I'm going to show you is Simple Minds. They were, if you listen to my first episode about my new wave collection, I talked about this big music from bands like U2, Big Country, and uh, Simple Minds are part of that. Okay. Sparkle in the Rain. This is not the first record that I got from Simple Minds. It's actually this one, New Gold Dream. This is my first, and I was able to get this because it had Glittering Prize and then Promised You a Miracle that came out in a compilation that was released locally. So that was my introduction to Simple Minds, and then I was able to go abroad. I got this, and then I got this one. But this is my favorite Simple Minds record, and it's Once Upon a Time. When I listen to this record, I feel that this is like the Seeds of Love of Tears for Fears, because it had a more mature sound. This is like their Sergeant Peppers, and it was also influenced by a lot of things. In fact, Ghost Dancing was influenced by the South African human rights movement and all that. Um, but my favorite song here is All the Things She Said. That is still something I play a lot to this day. I just really love this record. Simple Minds Live. This is just me getting it to be a completist, but it's okay. It's okay. Earlier, you heard how REM and the Smiths just really ended all that synth music for me, all that new romantic stuff. I stopped listening to all that stuff when I heard these bands. And I recall when my batchmate in Ateneo, Omar, brought this to school along with Murmur. Chronic Town, actually. Chronic Town. I was just blown away. And I remember Omar lent this to me and I played it at home. And I was just like, wow, what's this stuff? The lead guitarist, Johnny Marr, just such an awesome guitar player. So I returned this to Omar and then I had to get my own copy. And this is the British first pressing. And this came out not soon after that. How Soon Is Now, and with that memorable cover that said, the title of this album is Made Us Murder, and How Soon Is Now is one of the big hits from this album. And what a fetching cover, right? With that, from the Vietnam War. Now, these are my original records from back then. Okay. More stuff here. The Soup Dragons, I'm Free, the 12-inch single. Such a great song. I absolutely love this. And no, I don't have any albums by the Soup Dragons, just this single. I was a fan of this band for a while, but I really haven't listened to them since the 80s. Spandau Ballet with True and then Parade. But I really loved them with their first album, Journeys to Glory. Very new romantic, very heavy synths. Uh, they sounded also a lot like early Duran Duran. One band that was not at all popular, but I liked them was this group called Spider. This is Holly Knight right here. I mean, I had a massive crush on Holly Knight. She's become one of those big time composers. She did Buffy and the Vampire Slayer, among others, and they hit the American top 40. And I think with the song "The New Romance," it's a mystery, and I think it was only on the top 40 for 2 weeks, and then it dropped off. It didn't even go higher than, if I'm not sure, 36, not higher than that. And I was just so intrigued. I said, "Wow, what a voice! What a voice!" Holly Knight was playing keyboards and all that stuff. And there's just Amanda Blue was their vocalist, and such a great song. And New Romance, and I just had to look for this record, and I didn't get it until much much later because I don't think the album went around much. I got this only in the last couple of years, Spider, and this is their second album, Between the Lines. Only Holly Knight and Anton Fig went on to become the big stars here. Strawberry Switchblade, their one and only album. And it had songs like Since Yesterday, Let Her Go, and Who Knows What Love Is. Who Knows What Love Is my favorite here. But, wow, look at that. What a cover. Another of my favorite bands from that era is the Stray Cats. To this day, Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats are favorites of mine. I have all of Setzer's music on compact disc. As for vinyl, no, I only have a few. But from the Stray Cats, I have these. I have three of them. This one, the debut, Built for Speed. Look at that, Greaser Look, and Rant and Rave with the Stray Cats. Yeah. One band that I continue to listen to this day, and whose music I absolutely love. I think they were probably the band of the 80s back then, Tears for Fears. The Hurting, I want to thank my friend Nikki for this record. He helped me get this record. And I recall back in the 80s, 99.5 RT had a TV show called Rhythm of the City. And I remembered when the first time we saw the video for Change, I mean, without even knowing, I knew that was it. It was kind of weird video. But I remember sitting down and watching, because I remember whoever was hosting that show didn't even say that this is Tears for Fears of Change. Somehow I knew right away that was it. I love this record as a kid, but to be honest with you, I can't really play it nowadays. I kind of prefer the other stuff from songs from Big Chair and upwards. And having said the songs from Big Chair, the urban mix of Everybody Wants to Rule the World with the saxophone, great stuff. And such a great record. I didn't get any of the anniversary editions. I'm just really content to have the records that I have, and this is the British copy, first pressing back then. Now this one was just something else. This is the band's version of their Sgt. Pepper. It's very inspired by Sgt. Pepper's from the Beatles. Look at that. And it was just more than the look. The music was great. They had a lot of good stuff, and there's not a song here that I don't like. So there. We're almost finished with my other bit of new wave records. I just got this for one song from this German band trio. It's Da Da Da. I don't love you, you don't love me. Aha, aha, aha. What a name, right? And it was a hit. It's just one of those insane songs that was so catchy. One of my favorite bands of that time and up to this day who really resonate with me. In fact, this record is celebrating its anniversary this month. No, and this one. Three of the records are celebrating their anniversary this month, and one of this is Boy. I think no, Boy is in November, November of 1979 or 1980, something like that. Okay. Um, I remember reading about U2 in Rolling Stone magazine, and I had not heard their music, and they just got rave reviews during their tour. And I said, I gotta have this record. And you know what I did back then? To help preserve its edges, I taped it. I used Scotch tape on it. And I regret putting that. So this is my original record back then. See that? It's got tape, Scotch tape. But such a great photo. The British copy had the kid on it, the kid who appeared in Boy, on War, sorry, in War. He was on the cover for the British copy of this one. This record I still listen to from time to time. And if you ask me my favorite song, no, it's not I Will Follow. Definitely not. It's Another Time, Another Place. Yeah. That's my favorite song in this album. October, I got on cassette the first time around. And that was with the same batch when I got Sting's Dream of the Blue Turtles. Mm, Prefab Sprout, Two Wheels Good. And there's one more record that I don't remember. On Style Council, Home and Abroad. So I got it at the same time as this October, but the cassette. And I wasn't too pleased with it, to be honest with you. I really like Gloria and then Tomorrow. But so I thought it was a terrible record. It was like the Clash's Give Them Enough Rope. I just didn't like it, the sophomore album. But I reacquired this 2, 3 years ago, and I've fallen in love with the record. I think it's a great record now. So this one aged better for me. This was a massive hit, especially New Year's Day and Sunday Bloody Sunday. That was on regular MTV rotation. And yep, do you know where I got this one? I got this at Chris Chareth in Green Hills. Yep, that's where I got it. And I think I paid 140 pesos for this record. Um, Chris Chareth was a comic book store that also sold um, records because the guy June Miguel had a band and would occasionally jam in Roses, you know. But they were into classic rock, not this type of stuff. Under Blood Red Sky, yeah, this mini LP. And this is my first exposure to 11 o'clock TikTok. I did get the record store day of 11 o'clock TikTok. You're not seeing it here because it goes with my RSD video. Okay? The Unforgettable Fire. I remember when I got this, and the music was just so different. So different. I felt like I was listening to Roxy music over here. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The first time I played it, I said, oh, hold on. It's different. It's not anything like the raw stuff that they did under Steve Lillywhite. Because this is where they went with Brian Eno, if I'm not mistaken, and Daniel Lanois, who produced the album. So there was a more atmospheric sound to U2. It really worked for The Edge. But they backtracked a bit when they did the Joshua Tree. And this had Americana dripping all over their sound back then. Very good record, Joshua Tree, and I got to see them on tour while promoting the anniversary edition. Rattle and Hum. I love this record. Absolutely love this. Um, Double album, live tracks, new songs, and stuff that did not make the Joshua Tree. Really good record. And I love the film. When I bought the film of this, it was on VHS, and I bought it in Quiapo, right before the bridge that goes up and will get you down to the other side once you go past Quiapo, you know. Angel of Harlem. I only got this in the last few years. One of my favorite U2 songs. Mm, the Vapors, I don't have any of their records anymore. I used to. But this is the 12-inch single of Spiders and Jimmy Jones that came out on from their second record. You know. Another of those bands with the big sound back then was the Waterboys from Wales. And uh, like many people back then, this is my introduction. This is to the sea. And it's such a great record. So very good. I don't think there's any track here that you can't throw away. Don't Bang the Drum, The Whole of the Moon, Spirit, Band Within, Medicine Bow. I love Old England. Be My Enemy. Trumpets is beautiful, and This is the Sea. In fact, I thought that this band influenced one of my all-time favorite bands right now, which is British Sea Power. And from This is the Sea, I backtracked and I got Pagan Place and the mini LP of the Waterboys. Right. And of course, the best of. So I'm a big fan of their music. We're down to our last few records in my new wave bin. This is part 2 of my infinite playlist, my new wave LP collection from the 80s. I was in grade 6, 7, high school and college during the 1980s. Wire Train from San Francisco. Great record. In the Chamber. I'll Do Chamber of Hellos, good stuff here. And Between Two Worlds, the follow-up album, it had Last Perfect Thing, Skills of Summer, and God on Our Side, which is my favorite Wire Train song. So they put out 2 good records. I showed you earlier Propaganda and then Trio, a German band. But this is my favorite German band of that era, Ex-Mal Deutschland. I remember hearing Incubus Succubus on Capital Radio. I was wondering, like, what the hell is that? It was frightening. It was raw. It had this punk energy about it, but a goth feel. And I remember I ordered it through Odyssey and Green Hills, but they helped me instead get this Fetish. And it didn't contain Incubus Succubus. And I remember when I got home, I played this record and everything was in German. I couldn't understand a thing. So I was so upset. I was so upset with this record that I didn't really like it until much later on. And um, here's Incubus Succubus single. Toxin, not too well known. It was with this album Viva, where they started singing more songs in English that Ex-Mal Deutschland finally took off. And, they said Matador, Sickle Moon, and Polar Licht is my favorite. So there, Ex-Mal Deutschland was one of my favorite bands back then. I just remember I remember my dad had, when they were young, they had this, when I was young, they had this German exchange student back then, Rolf, who used to live with them. And I would ask Rolf, like, hey, can you interpret this for me? Except he didn't have time to interpret for me. Now, I want to show you some local pressings here. Uh, all original punk rock, but it's not really punk. Maybe for Stiff Little Fingers, that's it. But everyone else is not, because it had Blondie. But I love it because these are the Blondie songs that I love. Ex Offender, then Kung Fu Girls. This is before Heart of Glass. And it had Ultravox Sleepwalk, Dancing with Myself from Generation X, from Gen X, Tears of a Clown from The Beat. But Stiff Little Fingers here was for me the big prize because it had Gotta Get Away. This one, I think I have no idea if this ever came out abroad. It probably did. But this was such a good compilation because it was the way for record companies to gauge if these songs had any traction locally. But look at this track list. It had Birds Fly from the Icicle Works, the live version of African in White, the one at Reading University. This is from China Crisis. It had The Care, Whatever Possessed You, Eye Level, Our Song. I just really like this band. I've been looking for their stuff on vinyl. They're so hard to find. Dead of Flock of Seagulls, Lotus Eaters, Japan, Gentlemen Take Polaroid. So this is my first exposure to Japan, and two bands here, April Showers and The Big Dish. April Showers had abandoned ship, and this 7-inch single is just so expensive nowadays. It's gonna sell for like what, 3-5 thousand bucks right now. So if I can't get that, I'm just happy to have this, right? Now, the last record in my new wave bin is this. Isn't a local pressing. I used to have the local pressing of this, and I got rid of it because, as I told you, when I got to college, I just didn't want to listen to the synth stuff. And this record helped put me off in terms of synthesizer new wave. And, it was just such a heavy and dark album to listen to. The one song that I absolutely loved here was Dalek I Love You from Dalek 1. I never even heard of these guys again. And XTC was here with The Somnambulist, but this record contributed to my not liking the synth side of new wave. But so why do I have this? I only got this recently. I got it back, but this is pressed abroad. It's pressed in the UK. So I'm more mature now, so I'm able to get into a lot of other stuff there. So that's part 2 of my new wave collection, and I hope that you liked it. I have no idea what other video I'll do next. I'll think of something because I've got a lot to show you. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching my infinite playlist where I talk about my records, my compact discs, as well as my cassettes in my collection. So thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.